Hey everyone, and warmly welcome back to the Animal Notebook channel. Today, we've got a truly fascinating explainer lined up for you. We're going to be focusing on an absolute biological marvel and, honestly, a genuine historical icon, the horse. We're appropriately titling today's journey, Horses, the Horsepower Heroes.
Okay, let's dive into this. You know, when we look at these magnificent creatures, it's so easy to just see a beautiful animal standing peacefully in a pasture. But the truth is, they are hiding some serious biological superpowers. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly what makes these animals so unique, how they survive in the wild, and how they literally carried human civilization on their backs.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with 1. Meet the horse, then move into 2. Anatomy and superpowers, 3. Social behavior, 4. Epic history, 5. Diverse breeds, and finally, we'll wrap up with 6. Fast FAQs.
All right. Section 1. Meet the horse. So, scientifically speaking, they're known as Equus, ferus, caballus, and they belong to the Equidae family. These guys are massive, powerful herbivores that run entirely on a plant-powered diet of grasses, hay, and grains. Depending on the specific breed, they can weigh anywhere from 380 to an absolutely staggering 1,000 kilograms. And what's really wonderful is that, with proper care, these animals have a super impressive average lifespan of 25 to 30 years. So they have plenty of time to form lifelong bonds with their herds and their humans.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy and Biological Superpowers.
Let's look at their unique physical structure. They're what we call large, odd-toed ungulates, which basically means they stand and walk on a single toe. And that single toe is encased in a hoof. Now here's a totally mind-blowing fact. That hard hoof is made entirely of keratin. That is the exact same protein that makes up your fingernails. Just imagine running for miles and miles on a giant fingernail. That is literally the engineering of a horse.
Want another superpower? Their vision. Horses have some of the largest eyes of any land mammal out there, and because those eyes are positioned right on the sides of their head, they boast nearly a 360-degree field of vision. It's a brilliant adaptation for spotting predators from almost any angle. They do have tiny blind spots directly in front of their noses and right behind their tails, but still, it's incredible. On top of that, they've got this built-in acoustic radar system. They can rotate their ears independently up to 180 degrees to pinpoint exactly where a sound is coming from in the brush.
And wow, let's talk about their athleticism for a second. At a full gallop, a horse can reach a top speed of around 55 kilometers per hour, which is roughly 34 miles per hour. To sustain that kind of insane power, they have an engine built purely for endurance. A horse's heart typically beats a slow, steady 28 to 44 times per minute while they're just resting. But during intense exercise, that heart rate can skyrocket to over 200 beats per minute just to pump enough oxygen through their massive lungs. It's a real biological marvel.
Let's shift gears to Section 3, Social behavior and communication. Now, because they are prey animals, horses naturally have a very strong flight instinct. Out in the wild, their absolute best defense against danger is each other. So they live in highly structured family groups called herds, or sometimes we call them bands when we're talking about wild horses. And get this, their society is matriarchal. The herd is typically led by a wise, dominant mare, while the stallion's primary role is actually just to protect the group from outside threats.
Living that closely together requires a really rich system of communication. They don't just whinny and neigh, they communicate vividly through incredibly subtle body language. A simple ear movement, a quick swish of the tail, or a specific facial expression speaks absolute volumes to another horse. They also use touch, like mutual grooming, to strengthen their social bonds. And amazingly, their memories are sharp as a tack. A horse can recognize and remember individual humans as well as their old herd mates for years.
Section 4. Evolution and Epic History. We have to take a look back, because the evolutionary lineage of the horse stretches back over 50 million years. And no, it didn't start with the giants we know today. It actually started with a multi-toed ancestor called Eohippus, which was, believe it or not, roughly the size of a small dog. Fast forward to around 3500 to 3000 BCE, and humans began domesticating them in the western Eurasian steppes, which is in regions like modern-day Russia and Kazakhstan. Honestly, it is impossible to overstate their historical heroism. Domesticating the horse was a massive turning point for us. They fundamentally accelerated human civilization.
Practically overnight, humans could travel vast distances in a fraction of the time. Our trade networks expanded, agriculture was totally revolutionized by draft power, and the entire landscape of ancient warfare shifted. They literally connected our world.
All right, on to Section 5, exploring diverse horse breeds.
So to make sense of all these different breeds, we broadly group them into three main categories based on their temperament and their build. First, you have hot-blooded breeds, like Arabians and Thoroughbreds. These are spirited, lightning-fast, and bred for high endurance in the desert. Then you have your cold-blooded horses. These are the massive draft breeds, like the Clydesdale or the Shire. They're known for their calm demeanor and just immense strength. I mean, some of these guys weigh well over 2,000 pounds. Finally, warm-blooded horses are crosses between the two, typically bred for modern sports and riding, like the Hanoverian. And this brilliantly illustrates what selective breeding has done. It's created striking visual differences across the over 300 recognized breeds we have today. On one side, you have the sleek, refined elegance of a hot-blooded horse, complete with a slender build and high tail carriage. On the other, you've got the sturdy, muscular frame of a horse built for absolute power. From tiny miniature horses standing under 34 inches tall to those towering draft horses, the diversity within this single species is just astounding.
And finally, Section 6, 4 frequently asked questions. Let's do a rapid-fire round.
FAQ number 1. How exactly do horses sleep? We've all seen them just standing out in fields with their eyes closed, but are they actually resting like that?
Well, yes, they absolutely are. While they do eventually need to lie down for deep REM sleep, they can easily doze and lightly sleep while standing straight up. They use this incredible anatomical locking mechanism called the stay apparatus. It's basically a system of tendons and ligaments in their legs that literally locks their joints right in place, meaning it requires almost zero muscle effort to stay upright. For a prey animal, this is a crucial defense. It lets them rest while still being ready to bolt at a moment's notice.
Moving to FAQ 2, how on earth is a horse's height measured? If you've ever hung around a stable, you know they don't usually use feet and inches.
Actually, they're measured in a unit called hands. This is an ancient system dating all the way back to ancient Egypt, and it was originally based on the width of a human hand. Today, one hand is standardized to exactly 4 inches, and the measurement is taken from the ground up to the highest point of their shoulders, which is known as the withers. So to put that in perspective, a horse that is 15 hands tall is exactly 60 inches at the shoulder.
On to FAQ number 3. When a baby horse, called a foal, is born, how quickly can it walk? I mean, human babies take about a year to figure this out, right?
Astoundingly, a newborn foal can stand up and start walking within just 1 to 2 hours of being born. Because wild herds are constantly on the move to find fresh food and evade predators, a baby horse just doesn't have the luxury of time. They have to be ready to keep up with the moving herd almost immediately. It's wild.
And our final question, FAQ 4. How do you tell a horse's age? You might be surprised to learn that the answer actually involves the origin of a very famous idiom.
So, the crucial point here is that a horse's teeth continue to erupt, meaning they physically push out of their gums throughout much of their life. Because of this, experts can examine the exact shape, the angle, and the wear of a horse's teeth to estimate its precise age. This practice of inspecting a horse's mouth to check its actual health and value before accepting it is exactly where the famous saying, "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth," comes from.
And that brings today's explainer here on Animal Notebook to a close. When you think about their journey, from tiny, dog-sized forest dwellers millions of years ago to the powerful heroes that quite literally carried human civilization, agriculture, and trade on their backs, it really leaves you wondering, what would human history even look like without them? Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, keep learning.